Yo, boom family. So yes, like I promised in my last video, I'll be talking about how I was able to manage this drum. As you can hear, it has a lot of mid-range, this particular drum. So how I was able to manage it and control the dynamics and most importantly the peaks. So now let's go there. So shout out to Magix for this great job. So I'll probably be tagging him. And before we jump right in, I made a promise to upload the mixing routine track on a site so that you people can go and listen to it, to play it in your system where you mix, to see how it sounds and try to replicate it and give me feedback. Go to my YouTube if you are watching on TikTok and Instagram. I'll be linking it on my bio. Go there and click the link and go and listen to it and try to replicate it. So let's dive in quickly. The most interesting thing about this drum mixing is the way I box, of course, which I've already taught in my mixing routine. Just watch the way I box. Now you can see my percussions. Let's just off it. Let's start with the percussions and see what I did on the percussion and see what I put inside the percussions. The drums, the drum elements I put inside the percussions. See them. You see? Which means I routed all these things that you are hearing now, including something like this. The rows. I boxed them into the group I named percussion spec. So, and the kick, as you know, my kick is always usually alone. I don't, I box the kick separately. I treat it like the low end instrument. So you can see it there. Then you have the drums. You can see the drums. Then let's see what is inside the drum. You see this percussion that I boxed separately. I routed it back to the drums. So it leaves here and comes back to the main drums. See what I did here? So whatever is sounding here comes back to the drums, the main drums, which I will later explain further why I did it. So now, the next thing is drum box. You see, the drums is different from the drum box. So this drum box consists of all the boxes, all the drum boxes, the kick, the drums, because this one is already, percussion is already inside the drums, but the kick is alone. So I will now box the kick. Let's see what I did. I'm not even checking, but let's see what I did. You see, drum box, the kick is going directly to the drum box. You see, then the drums is going directly to the drum box. Let's just color code it. Let's use red. So it's going directly to the drum box. So everything meets inside, all the drum meets inside the drum box. But they all have different processing. And I'm going to show you why. I'm going to show you why it's like that, why I made this decision, which is part of, my routine. And I'm telling you, this is one of the most important steps when it comes to mixing. And let's see what I did inside the percussion and why I decided to leave it alone, to separate it. Now, let's see. So, my first plugin here was the EQ. I went to this low mid filter and look at the EQ here, the frequency. I went straight to the 2K region that I always talk about, and my curve here, my cutting curve here is neither narrow or wide, just at the middle. It's not too wide, just a bit of narrow. You can see it here. Then I reduced -2 dB from that 2K because this is just for the percussion, so which is what I'm soloing now, which is this. All you see all these stuffs. The reason why I decided to box this one because the percussion are kind of mid-range they all live almost in the same frequency, and they are kind of very heavy. So I needed to control them and EQ them separately before it goes inside the drum box. Now let's see what it's doing. Then I used, you can see this saturator tube, lead tube from Waves. What did I do there? Let's see. Pretty much simple. I used the high and I did not touch the drive at all, because the signal is already very okay. Then boom, let's see what I did here. You see, controlling the peaks that I always talk about. You see, so let's see what it does to the rolls. Go to the roll and see the roll now. See what it does to the roll. So there will be no spike. There will be no spike on the frequency. Once that roll comes in, it's going to chop everything from that range. You can see where I placed it, minus 10.60. That was where I placed. So anything that goes above there is going to chop it off. So it will retain that same peak. So the more you achieve this, the more you achieve this. Let's play and see. So the more you achieve this, the more perceived loudness you give to the sound. Do you get? So your sound will get louder, and your sound will also get bigger. You can see the difference between this high and this low. So the more you reduce the peak between the highest peak and this lowest peak and this low peak now, the louder your song will be, your song will become. Do you get? So we've been able to establish that and control those peaks. Now, then going back to the drum box, it's coming back to the drum box. Let's see what is in the drum box entirely. See, we have the snare. You see, the snare now is inside the drum box, going directly to the drum box. And we have the shakers. You see? So now, let's see, we use the same thing too to control it. We use this one. Then let's go back. Then we use this guy. Let's see what this guy is doing. You see? Now, let me tell you one tricky thing here. If those congas hits and the snare hits together with the conga, definitely there will be spike. So for instance, let's say the conga is hitting minus 6 dB, for instance. If anytime it hits with the snare, it's going to jump to minus 3, for instance. See? So if you first of all control the congas inside our percussions, you control the peak with this very guy. Now, by the time you come to the drums, by the time it hits with the snare and the drums, and you also use this one to control both of them together, you must have by then reduced a whole lot of peak. You know, you must have been able to control a whole lot of peak by first of all, you know, addressing the peak level of those percussions inside the packs, the percussion group, then coming inside the drum box and also controlling them again. You would have, you know, controlled a very high amount of it in a very sensitive way. So instead of controlling them together with one clipper, you control this one separately and you come back and control all together. So you are now trying to, you know, separate the workload for the clipper. Everything goes back to the drum box. Everything that goes back to the drum box. These drums and this percussion and of course the kick. Let's see what I did on the kick. I did not do anything on the kick. Kick is a very trickish thing. You don't really need to do much except there is need to. Except it does not marry the song. When you are addressing your kick, listen if the kick marries the song. If it feels all right with the snare. If it does not, then you can say, okay, let me see if I can tweak it, you know, so that it will blend with the snare. Because they actually go together. And of course the bass. So if you feel the kick is already working with the song, you don't really need to do much. So this is what I did there. You see, I did not touch much there. I'm still going to go back to the drums. I did not touch much there. I'm just trying to go back and front. So I did not touch much there. What the only thing I did was I came to this low filter at 30. Low filter 30, and I just reduced like 1 dB. So like a low shelf now. Low shelf 30. So the EQ is barely doing nothing. Now let's go back to that drums and see the EQ. The EQ I did on the drums, not the drum box now, on the drums, which includes the snare and the what's it called? The shakers. The EQ I did, what I did there, I don't do much there. The only thing I did there was to boost the high end. You see, I went to the 16K, 15K region, and I boosted just barely 1 dB. Just to give it more highs, even if it was not really doing much. But I just boosted just 1 dB of that range. So let's listen. See? So not doing much. Then, now, the drum box. What did I do inside the drum box? Don't forget, I don't play with limiter. You see my settings on the limiter. See? Let's see what I did on the limiter. Let's see see, it's barely doing nothing, but let's see. Listen, oh. Let's go to the roll section. The roll section. You see? I want to use it to, again, further control any place where the roll comes in, so that I will not have anything of spike at all. This is what shapes your mastering. By the time you are able to control your picks, your mastering will be much more better and louder and bigger. So this is what I'm doing with this guy. See? He's catching the rolls, which would definitely spike once that roll comes in. See? Match these two together. Make sure they are matching together. Put them in the same area, the same level. Then you click these two to join them, link them, and move it. See? Just the roll. You don't need it to catch any other thing. Just the roll. See? Let the roll come in. So let it just catch the roll and probably do almost nothing with the rest. Then, boom. If you like, you can turn on this gain match if you like. Follow your mind there. See? So now let's talk about how the bass actually blends with it. How many? See? See? See, very simple. It blends. You don't need to. Once it's not like, look at now, did I EQ the bass? I didn't EQ the bass, and the artist actually likes it. The artist is the most important person here. Do you get? Is the most important person. If the artist say he has paid you money, if the artist say I don't like it, will you? Even if the biggest engineer tells you the kick is okay, if the artist tells you I don't like it, alpha. So you should be able to convince your artist that what I'm doing is okay. So now look at this bass. There is no EQ on it at all. Why do you need to EQ? That's why you don't. Most times you do things before even thinking before even asking yourself, why am I doing it? You should first of all know what you are doing before you ask yourself, should I do this? Am I supposed to do this before? Some people just pull it EQ. Some engineers just EQ without even knowing why they are EQing. Look at this bass. I did not EQ the kick. I did not EQ the bass. Because they already are working in synchrony, so to say. Do you get? So I don't need to EQ again. Some people will say, it's kick. Now I don't. Okay, this is the problem. You would say, I don't want the song, I don't want the kick to be, I don't want the unwanted frequency. That is actually laugh, people. I don't want unwanted frequency when you are not even hearing any unwanted frequency. Did you hear unwanted frequency here? There should be, the kick and the bass should cause problem before you do anything. Look at this kick now, the bass. Did you hear anything problem? There's no problem on the kick and the bass. But I know 90% of engineers that I know would EQ. this bass and all the kick. Do you get? So I just added saturation to just make it sound. That's more reason why you are hearing it on your iPhone. I know you hear it. Do you get? And I use limiter. I always say use limiter on your low end. Make sure your low end has limiter. Do you get? Make sure your low end has limiter. Do you get? It's very important. So, and if you want to reach out for personal close, guide, you can reach out to me and I will tell you in details. But it's not everything I can actually explain here. It will take hours. Some of my online courses that I do, they take 2 hours, 1 hour, and I can't record 1 hour here. It's not possible. So even my camera does not have that ability to cut when it gets to 30 minutes. So it's as simple as that. So let me know what you think in the comment section and try to interact, in the comment section. Doing that, it would, give me clue on what to do next. So yes, boom. Comment your thoughts. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.